Okay, so in one sentence, the Galaxy A02s is a pretty good phone. I feel like I could sum up the entire review in about 1 or 2 sentences. Check this out. So the Galaxy A02s has a really good display, very good performance, very good battery life, pretty good software. It's a Samsung phone, but the camera isn't all that great. Now let me prove it to you. So let's start with those cameras. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not bad. At this price point, there really isn't any phone, any smartphone you would buy that would actually give you a very good camera. Like, that's just something you have to be ready to sacrifice. But I would say aside the camera, everything else about this phone is pretty good. Anyway, it's a triple camera setup. We have a 13 megapixel main lens, a wide lens, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth. We also have a 5 megapixel front facing camera. So a 2 megapixel macro lens, a 2 megapixel depth sensor, you kind of already know the story. They're not very good. But that main lens, that's kind of like our focus. So it's a 13 megapixel sensor, and I found out that it's not that great. Like, photos from this phone look really saturated, like colors are not bright, HDR is lacking, and again, because this is a more affordable phone, they kind of can go away with it, because I mean, it's less than $150 or around $150, so cameras aren't expected to be great, and they aren't actually. But what surprised me is that in more darker conditions, yeah, it kind of did well. When it's darker, it's not so saturated, but out in the sun, yeah, it's super saturated. But for me, that is the only drawback of this phone. So if you're someone who wants a good camera, you really wouldn't be buying this phone particularly for the cameras, even though they're not bad. I would give them like a 6.5 out of 10. It kind of looks like the S20 FE if you ask me, so I guess we should just talk about the design then. So we have a nice pattern finish on the back with the Samsung logo. Samsung doesn't include a case with it in the box. It's made of plastic, so you know, you really wouldn't worry about the back breaking, and probably still get a case. Even though it's plastic, you do not want dents and scratches, all that stuff. So yeah, protect your phone is what I'm saying. And if you turn the phone around, we have that beautiful 6.5-inch display. It's not OLED, it's a TFT panel, but it looks really good actually. Viewing angles on it are pretty nice, and even though it's 720 pixels, it is very good. Watching YouTube videos, you can watch up to 1080p for some reason, but yeah, it's a 720p display. It's fine for virtually everyone, but at this price point, I think it's one of the best displays. Samsung makes displays for other people, so you can imagine that their own phones would do pretty well, and this phone does really well. So in the unboxing, I pointed out that the phone is kind of light, and I kind of was worried that the performance wouldn't match up. Like, you know, people kind of equate heaviness, heft with performance. But yeah, this phone, even if it's like light, the performance is actually really good. So it's an octa-core processor. It's the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 chipset. It's a 14 nanometer chipset. But even though the Snapdragon chipset, the 450, is kind of old, since 2017, I believe, it is actually really fluid. Like, using the phone, going through applications, opening applications, you can run like 3 or 4 apps at the same time, and you would be able to return to, you know, the first app you started with, and it will continue from where it stops. Obviously, it's not super fast because it's, you know, a budget chipset, but yes, it is really good. Like, opening apps take relatively, I don't know, 0 to 2 seconds. Okay, not 0. It takes relatively 1 to 2 seconds to open, occasionally 3 seconds. But yeah, for anyone who wants, I guess, a phone with really good performance but still cheap, I feel like the Samsung A02s is definitely one that you should consider. The Galaxy A02s also has a 5000 mAh battery, and because of that 450 chipset, it does help in battery optimization. I personally found out while using the phone that the battery is really good. It takes me about 2 days to kill it. I mean, I wasn't really doing any sort of intense gaming and I guess usage, but it did take me about 2 days to kill the phone. I really did not remember a time where I went, I need to charge. It was just really, okay, let me just charge. So yeah, battery life is pretty good. I remember, yeah, I did watch a movie, a 2-hour long movie, and the battery went from 98% to 92%. So 6% battery life for a 2-hour movie. So imagine you're watching 10, 15 movies. Your phone would still be above 50%. 6 times? What's 6 times? That's 90. Okay, sorry. So if you do watch 15 movies with this phone, you would still have about 10% of battery life left. That's amazing. So I do feel another reason to buy the Galaxy A02s would be the battery life. It's truly fantastic. Yeah, it truly is fantastic. It also has a Type-C port. That's pretty cool. And it does support 15 watt fast charging. Pretty good battery if you ask me. There you go, another reason to buy the Galaxy A02s. For most people, the fact that this phone is a Samsung, that's also another reason to buy the phone. Because yeah, Samsung is like the leading manufacturer in the Android department, whether you like it or not. So to be able to say, yeah, my phone is a Samsung is kind of a big flex for people. So yes, I do feel like this phone would sell a lot. I mean, people like value. Whether you're Samsung or Apple, if your phone doesn't give value, they wouldn't buy it. And Samsung realized this, and since 2017, I believe, the A series, they've really paid attention to it and gave people value. So I feel like the A02s is one of those other phones that is in this price range where value is what would sell. And I believe that this phone actually has value, and people would see that and buy this phone. It costs about $150, $160 maybe, to be safe. But here in Nigeria, you could buy the A02s for about 59, 61,000. I got this for 61,000 because it wasn't really available, so I had to pay a little bit extra for it. But you can get it for as low as 59,000. By the way, this is the 4GB RAM, 64GB ROM version. There is also a 3GB RAM, 32GB ROM version, and that goes for a little less, for about 55, 56,000. But yeah, if you do have the extra money, definitely go for more storage. It also does support external storage with a micro SD card slot. So storage really wouldn't be a problem. You could always get, extra storage. What are some of the reasons now not to buy the Galaxy A02s? First of all, you might have noticed there is no where is it? Yeah, there is no fingerprint sensor on this phone. At the back, on the side, it's not there, and that's because it's not there. It does come with face unlock, but we know that that is not safe, or as safe as a fingerprint reader. So it could easily be fooled, so do not rely on face unlock. So that means you're really just left with a pin or pattern as your security, which is fine and definitely secure. But in a 2021 smartphone, you kind of want some sort of, fingerprint sensor or pretty good face. I don't know. I just feel like them not having a fingerprint sensor could qualify as a downside. I don't know. Let me know what you think. So software is pretty nice. I mean, it's One UI 3.1, but it really wouldn't get that many software updates. So that could also be a downside if you're someone who's looking to keep the phone for, more than a year or 2 years. Worth mentioning. And yeah, the speakers as well are not the loudest. But the good news is it does come with a headphone jack, and Samsung included an earpiece in the box, headphone jack, headphones. You can use that and not worry about the bad speakers, not so loud speakers. So yeah, generally in my usage of this phone, the Galaxy A02s, it's been fantastic. Battery life, amazing. Display, very, very good. Performance is sweet. I mean, it's too fluid to be a budget phone if you ask me. On a general note, I would definitely ask people to buy this phone, especially if you're really concerned about battery life and performance. The Galaxy A02s is sweet. But then, I guess that's been it, you know? See you when you see me.